Well, hi everyone, and welcome to Inspiration for Today. As you can see, we are in a different location again today, and I don't know if you can guess. Let me get out of the way. I don't know how much you can see. Even up here in Utah, that's a clue, Utah, there's smoke. There's smoke around from those fires, so it's not nearly as clear a view as we would hope that it would be. But I am at one of the world's actually biggest lakes. It's the 37th largest lake in the world. It's the 4th largest, and here's the clue, lake that has no outlet. And therefore, over time, it's become very salty. Yes, it's the Great Salt Lake. And that's exactly what happens to the minerals flow in, and there is no outlet. There is no outlet. And so over time it's become very salty. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in just a moment. But right now I want to read the verse for the day. And then I'm going to tell you how it applies to the Great Salt Lake, or how the Great Salt Lake is such a wonderful illustration of this verse. The verse is found in 1 Corinthians chapter 8 at verse 1. It says this: knowledge puffs up, but love builds up. Now what do I mean by that? How does this lake illustrate that verse? Knowledge puffs up, but love builds up. Well, here's the interesting thing. Let me just give you a little bit more facts about this lake first. It's very shallow. As you can see, this whole area, very, very flat. Utah, I remember the Bonneville Salt Flats that are extension of this, where land speed records were constantly being set when you and I were younger people. It's very flat. So the deepest this lake ever is 14 feet. Very, very shallow, and because it's very salty. In fact, its saltiness averages about 20% of saline. Compared to in the oceans are 3%. But you know the saltiest lake in the world? Not only that, it's the biggest lake, largest lake, that has no outlet and therefore becomes salty. And that's the Dead Sea. The Dead Sea that is spoken of over and over again in the Bible, because it was the boundary of the Promised Land. And of course the Jordan River is the main river that flows into the Dead Sea. Now the Dead Sea has 37% saltiness. Nothing can live there. In the Great Salt Lake, there are no fish that live there, but on the other hand, there are some small little, very small brine, a form of shrimp, that can exist. But overall, it also is dead. And here's the illustration and where our verse comes into play. These lakes, the Dead Sea and Great Salt Lake, take in, but they never give out. They never give out. And that's not healthy, and nothing can live like that. It's the same with us. And that's where this comes in. Knowledge puffs up. Sometimes people are more interested in getting more and more knowledge, getting the knowledge of the Bible. Not a bad thing, of course, right? But it's study, or classes or seminars without giving out, though. That's just taking in. Got to give out. And that's why it says, love builds up. Love is the doing. It's the part of living the Christian life where you're helping others. And that's how you stay healthy. A lake needs outflow. It needs flow through to stay healthy so that fish and other things can live. It's the same with us. We can't just take in and not give out. We've got to be givers also. What a great illustration to have the Great Salt Lake behind us for that purpose. You know, I was thinking about, so who that I have known is the most intelligent, most knowledgeable about the Bible person that I've ever known. And I think back to a man named Dr. Charles Feinberg, who was the dean of the seminary that I went to, which was Talbot Seminary. And Dr. Feinberg I absolutely loved. Now this guy, he was so brilliant that at least twice a year, he read his whole Bible through. Now that's great in and of itself, but he read it in the Greek New Testament and Hebrew Old Testament. He knew both languages so well, he could just read from those. I had Dr. Feinberg for Hebrew. When I went to seminary, you had to have 2 years of Greek and 1 year of Hebrew. And so I had Dr. Feinberg for Hebrew. Here's a guy who was absolutely brilliant. But you know what? He cared for his students. He cared for me. I remember seeing him outside of class, and he was genuinely interested in what I was doing and what was happening in my life. Dr. Feinberg was constantly giving out. He wasn't, in my mind, great because he was brilliant and knew the Bible better than anyone I have had the privilege of knowing in my life. He was great because he was constantly giving out. And I was thinking to myself, how could he teach beginning Hebrew and have any interest in it at all? I look back on it and I think he must have been so bored teaching us those letters and just how the very basics of Hebrew. Well, I like Dr. Feinberg so much that I actually took as an elective a second year of Hebrew. Honestly, I never thought I would do such a thing, but I wanted to sit under Dr. Feinberg's teaching for another year, and I did. It was awesome, and like I say, it's because he had that balance. Knowledge puffs up, but showing love for others, that's like the tributary out of a lake, and that is healthy. Well, he did that. I have to ask myself, do I do that? Because I do read and study my Bible. I'm sure we all do. But am I giving out? Am I just taking in, or do I also give out? And I pray that I am. I pray that I am. I love doing this show. But it's not enough that we all just do this. We've got to love one another. Love, according to our verse for the day, builds up. Well, I love being out here in the fresh air. I hope that you do too. It's kind of a hazy day today, but I hope you get the gist of it. I think for the rest of the day, I'm just going to pick up the camera and let you see what we can see here at Great Salt Lake. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you again tomorrow.
It's a wonderful morning to worship the Lord. This is the day. This is the day.